Welcome back, everybody. Jaysin Static with another episode of the interview series. I am Jaysin Static. You, sir, are...
Vincent Sawyer.
Vincent Sawyer. How long have you been in the wrestling industry, Vincent Sawyer?
I started training in 2018, had my first match in 2019.
2019. You're part of the Fight Club crew, so you know this deal. We got new questions, new way of doing things. Are you ready for your first question?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
In your opinion, is there a difference between being a pro wrestler and a sports entertainer? How do you balance those two aspects in your own career? And do you think it's important to play in both lanes?
I think there is a difference. I know WWE previously was really big about the whole sports entertainment.
Right.
I feel like sports entertainment is more for those televised programs.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's a reality show dressed up as a wrestling show.
Right.
Whereas when you look at independent companies, sometimes they'll have storylines. A lot of times it's just, hey, let's throw some guys together for a match.
Right.
I feel like that's more of the pro wrestling aspect. I think you can add storylines and, you know, promote storylines on regular independent shows as well. And that becomes entertainment. It's all entertainment. I never personally understand why sports entertainment and wrestling have to be so dissimilar, but there is a dissimilarity between them. I feel like shows can do both.
Yeah. I
think it just depends on how much extravagance you put behind a story.
Right. Me personally, I don't think they're as different as what people think they are. I think they play in the same lane, but like you said, one's more geared towards direct storytelling on not just a grander level, but even on micro levels where like you have like, say you have Vincent Sawyer versus Eagle Eye and it's just a match, but then an actual story comes out of it. Or where you have Roman, Cody, where it's a whole big grand, the story's super grand. To me, they're both the same thing. You're telling a story. Wrestling, whether it's indie wrestling, WWE, New Japan, or anything like that, it's all story-based. It's just, how are you telling the story? And on how grand of a scale is it? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. Scale definitely has something to do with it. As I said previously, I think it's the production value, the amount of behind the scenes stuff going into it. Because you don't really get that on independent shows a lot. There is a behind the scenes, but a lot of times it's not extremely nitpicky like something like WWE would be. And I feel like that's kind of where the differences start, where the roads start to divide.
I can agree to that. Do you think indie wrestling would do good to try to swerve into that lane of being more story-oriented?
That's tricky. And I think that's why it's so hard for independent wrestlers to get on shows that have TV contracts, like a WWE and AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan. I think you have to be an extremely well-rounded wrestler, good at promos, good character, good wrestling ability. There's a lot of factors that go into that. And personally, to me, it's a big game.
Right.
I would say independent wrestling itself is kind of like the college level. And things like WWE are your pro sports. I know it's going to cause a lot of hate, but I don't care. So, but yeah, like they're going to want, for being a higher level product, they're going to put more money and time into things. And I think if an independent company could put the time and effort into that, sure. I think a lot of people would thrive. I think a lot of people would falter. I think you would be able to pinpoint the people who wouldn't do extremely well if they were put under the pressure of having to perform like the people in WWE and AEW and those big companies perform.
Do you think that would be a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it'd be a good thing. Okay. I think it would. Wrestling is iffy nowadays.
How so?
You got a lot of people who think they can do it. You got a lot of people who think that they can be a wrestler, and they either don't spend the time, money, or energy, or a combination of the three on that.
Right.
They just see it on TV and they're like, oh, hey, I could go do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think by bumping up a production value of a company, I think by nitpicking, in some ways what you want in a product and a story, I think that you would kind of thin the herd a bit.
Right.
I think a lot of people would figure out, that you can get through training. I know a lot of stories about people who took one day of training and they're like, this isn't for me.
Right.
But I think you would still have a lot of people where it would be like, oh, I have to do everything by this book. I have to do what this company specifically wants me to do.
Right.
I think a lot of people would hate it. I think it would thin a herd. I think it would cut a lot of people out of the business.
Do you think that's a good thing if more people?
I think for some people, yeah. I think I go to shows all the time and I see people wrestling and they either don't have the proper training or they just care about themselves, and it's a detriment and it could potentially hurt the person that they're working.
Right.
And by doing that and kind of holding people to a higher standard, I don't think it'd be a terrible thing.
All right, man. I think that's good enough. Do you have anything to promote? Upcoming shows, websites, social media sites, merchandise sites, anything like that?
Yeah. I got a Facebook, Vincent Sawyer. I have an Instagram, Vincent Sawyer Pro. I wrestle primarily out of Pro Wrestling Epic. I wrestle with No Fold Pro Wrestling. So any of those shows coming up, just check them out.
All right, man. We're going to do this just like we always do. Jaysin Static across all social media. Fight Club Wrestling Academy across all social media. And I do have some merchandise stuff coming. But it's a secret. Only the Fight Club crew guys know what it is. And once it drops, it's going to be fucking dope, isn't it?
Yep.
Vincent Sawyer. All right, brother. See you again soon.